Welcome. This will be a beginner stretch video this morning. This is being recorded for YouTube, so it might not be morning when you do this video. But let's start by just finding ourselves into a seat, your favorite seat. It doesn't have to look like this. It could be with your legs outstretched long. It could be with your feet together, knees apart. Maybe one knee is bothering you, so one knee needs to be lengthened while the other can be bent. So the choice is yours, however you sit comfortably. I always like to have a yoga block around just in case. What that does is it raises the ground up for us. So if it's difficult to reach the floor at any time, the block helps there. It has the 3 different levels, which is great. And then it also serves as an extra seat. So if your knees are bothering you while you're seated in a cross-legged position, then sit on a block. Or maybe a couple pillows to lift your hips up off of the ground. And so just wherever you are the most comfortable, let's take a seat. Today's session is going to be really focused on the word moksha, which is a Sanskrit term, and it means freedom. And so as we start to sit, let's start to just move our shoulders a little bit and see if there are any restrictions, if there's any spots where our freedom of movement has been restricted. And I feel some crunchies around my right shoulder blade. And then let's move that down into our back and our core by leaning our chest forward, squeezing the shoulder blades back, and then going the opposite way, rounding your back as you bring your shoulder blades forward. So it's like a seated cow and a seated cat. Back and forth a couple times, just to bring awareness into your mid-body here today. Noticing if there's any areas where there's less movement. Noticing now down in the hips, in the knees, if there's any areas that are feeling a little bit restrictive now that we've been sitting for a couple moments here, just finding our seat. And so now, if you need to make any changes in the structure of your position, do it. Bring awareness into your neck by dropping your right ear to your right shoulder and your left ear to your left shoulder. Back and forth 1 or 2 more times. Noticing the freedom of movement. And now maybe starting to add a neck circle in. Move slow so that every movement is on purpose, and so that you can recognize any areas of tension or where the movement feels less fluid. And switch directions if you haven't already, so that both directions get equal amount of love. And then we'll start to find our way to stillness and let our shoulders drop. And now we'll move our awareness to the breath. Breathing in really deep and clear. Noticing any restriction as you inhale, and then breathing out. Maybe through your nose, maybe through your mouth. Paying attention to the breath as it moves in and out. As we begin our practice, I have a poem to share with you by Barb Larson Taylor. What does stillness sound like? What does it sound like when you turn off the television set and the cell phone? What does it sound like when you take a break from talking with family, friends, colleagues? What does it sound like in your mind when you turn off the constant stream of thoughts? What does stillness sound like? What does stillness feel like? Does it feel uncomfortable, unfamiliar, rejuvenating, calming? What does stillness feel like? What would happen if you stopped thinking about the past? Stopped replaying the same tapes over and over in your mind? What would happen if you stopped thinking about the future? Always waiting with anticipation for what is next? What would happen if you brought your focus to this moment? This breath coming in, this breath going out. What is this when you hear stillness? When you feel stillness? When your focus is only on this moment? It is peace. That poem is called It Is Peace by Barb Larson Taylor. So take a couple moments and sit in stillness and just feel what it feels like, what it sounds like, to just be in this moment. From here, let's bring our palms facing up, and as you inhale, scoop your hands up overhead. And as you exhale, float them back down through the air, almost like you're combing the air with your fingers. Let's do it again. Inhale and scoop them up, just noticing any range of motion in your shoulders and your elbows, any restrictions with your breath too. Inhale one more time, doing that movement. And breathing out, combing the air back down to your lap. We'll do a couple sun breaths, reaching our arms out to the side. Inhale, sweep up overhead outward. Exhale, floating back down. It's known as adduction. And then we're going to abduct the arms out and up. One last time, third time. And bring our fingertips back down to the ground on either side of your body. So now if you're seated up on a block or a pillow, you might take that out of place so that you're more grounded through your sits bones. And if you need to change your legs, please feel free to do that. So we're going to move through our upper body here. Let's ground through our left palm. The right hand is going to reach up to the sky and then begin to just give in to that left side, keeping your right side grounded. So you want to make sure that right sit bone stays grounded. Breathing deep, never holding your breath. You don't want any restriction in the breath. And with an inhale, fan yourself back up to center and ground yourself back down. We'll take our right hand to the ground, to the floor. Left hand reaches up and over. And as far as you can go, when you meet that restriction, give in to it. Lean over a little bit, but not releasing your left sit bone from the floor. So keeping that left hip grounded. Take one or two more breaths while you're stretching. If at any point it hurts, back up a little bit. When you're ready to come up, take a big inhale, fan your way back up. Let's do it again. So if your legs are crisscrossed like mine, crisscross them the other way and see how the other hip is feeling. So let's slide that left hand out, bend through the elbow, right hand reaches up, and then maybe over. Nice. See how my shoulder is not connecting to my ear at all. We want to keep that depressed, lowered. There's no freedom when you're all scrunched up by your neck. Nice. With an inhale, bring yourself back up, ground down for just a moment. Feel that warmth you're creating. Slide the right hand out, ground it down. Don't lift the left sit bone as you sweep that hand up and over. Remember to keep that right shoulder depressed, lowered, away from your ear. It doesn't mean it's sad, it means there's freedom there, there's space. One more deep breath, expansion through the left side. And inhale to bring it back up to center. Ground the fingertips. Now, if your legs are getting tired, feel free to extend them straight out ahead of you if you want to. I'm going to keep my legs crisscrossed because I'm just more comfortable that way. We're going to be moving into a mid-back twist. So take this right hand and bring it to the outside of your left thigh. So even if your left leg is straight, it can be on the outside of your left thigh. Our left hand will sweep to the floor behind us. Inhale to sit up tall. Exhale, add a gentle twist. It doesn't need to hurt to be effective. 2 more breaths. Inhale, fill up your body. Exhale, wring it out. Inhale, sitting up tall. Exhale, last time. Bring yourself back up to center, but keep your right hand on your left thigh, and we'll add the twisty reach. So we're going to start to reach that left hand up to the sky, and then start to lean over to the right, and then twist your heart open to the sky. And I feel a really nice deep stretch through my left ribs, waist, obliques. You might feel it in your neck if you're tight there. Bring it back up, inhaling back to center. Cross that left arm over top. We're going to be moving into the shoulder blades here. So lift your hands up, and we're going to just first karate chop the right elbow. And that's the bottom elbow, so it keeps your left elbow in place. You could stay there. If you'd like to go to the next step, just bend that left elbow. Even if the backs of your hands never reach, you're still in eagle arms. So that's the next step, is trying to bring the backs of the wrists together. And if you've got that, you might be able to add the twist around. So anywhere from here to here to here is right. They're all correct. We're going to take our elbows and bring them down to our chest. And then take your elbows and lift them out, away from your chest, fingertips reaching high. Try that a couple more times. See if it awakens anything in your left shoulder blade. You feel that? Anywhere in there? I feel it right on top, right behind. We'll start to unwind. Let your arms come back behind you. Spread those collarbones apart. Look up at the sky a little bit. Rock from side to side slightly. Nice. If your legs are crisscrossed, extend them out long. And start to squeeze the chest open. Great job. We're going to go for our first forward fold. So extend those legs out, flex your toes back, sweep the hands up to the sky, lengthening all the way, and then folding forward to maybe reach your toes or your ankles or your shins or your knees. It's okay if your back is rounded, and it's also okay if your back is lengthened. So do a little bit of both and see what serves you better. Rounded back or straight back. I like straight back. I get a little bit of calf in there, and I can also see the video down here. So those of you who are zooming, I can see some of your posture. It looks awesome. Let's start to roll back up to seated. We've got to do all of that on the other side. So if your legs were straight, keep them straight. If your legs were crisscrossed, go back to that. And if you feel like you've already done a lot of crisscrossing with this leg, you could try it this way, but if the first way felt better, you can always go back to that. So let's do a little twist here. We're going to take our left hand to the right leg. So remember, even if your right leg is straight, you bring your hand to the outside of that knee or thigh. We want to sit up nice and tall and let our shoulders drop down, and then start to just add a twist. Inhale, sit up tall. Exhale and add your twist. One more breath here, twisting. Now let's grab on to the outside of our right thigh with our left hand. Start to lean over to the left, sweeping the right hand up to the sky. Then you can begin to open the chest, twisting the chest open to the sky, to the left. I'm sorry, to the right. My other left. Let's bring ourselves back up to center. Cross that right arm over top. And we're going into the eagle arm. So lifting the arms up, bending that left elbow, it keeps it in place. Then bending the right elbow. You're welcome to stop there. To make it more challenging, bring the backs of the palms or backs of the hands together, or twist them around. Lift your elbows out. Pull them down to your chest. Lengthen your neck out. Try that again. Nice. Whenever you've had enough, so that time you should feel it on the top of your right arm, but you know if it's ever too much, let it go. Whenever you're ready to release the posture, let it go. Bring your hands behind you when that time comes. Squeeze those shoulder blades back, maybe extend the legs out once again. Looking up at the sky, squeeze the collarbones apart, and then come back to seated. Inhale all the way up to the ceiling, to the sky, to the sun. Folding over top, straighten legs to your toes, ankles, shins, or knees. Keep in mind, it's totally okay to round your back. And it's totally okay to lengthen your spine and drop your shoulders from your ears. Looks good. Take another breath, just settling into stillness right here in this posture. A pose we return to again and again. And here we can ask ourselves those questions of what does it feel like to sit in stillness? It can be a little uncomfortable. But we must give ourselves the grace to kind of sit there, but also to let go when necessary. So when that time comes, roll yourself back up to seated. Our next posture, we'll be working the inner thighs, groin, inner knee area. So we're going to bring the feet together into your Baddha-Konasana. Sitting up nice and tall and letting those shoulders drop down. Maybe rocking on the sits bones a little bit from right to left just to see if there's any restrictions in your freedom and your movement. Grounding through the sits bones, letting those knees just hang into gravity for just a moment. Noticing where that stretch is, and if you'd like to add a little bit more, start to lean your belly forward towards your feet. Continue to breathe as always. Never finding any kind of reason to stop breathing. You can hold a pose, but you never want to hold your breath. Our breath is so crucial to oxidizing our blood and bringing oxygen to our muscles, letting them release faster. Let's bring ourselves back up. You may have already, and that's okay. Let's walk our feet forward about a foot. just bringing our legs forward so that your legs resemble a diamond more. And so this should change your stretch just a little bit. So again, just leaning your chest, your forehead towards your feet. Instead of the inner thigh, I now feel this right behind the knee, right in the outsides of my hips. So really, in yoga, in stretching, we will feel the sensation wherever it's needed. Wherever you're the tightest is where you're going to feel it. I like to rock a little bit in my postures from left to right just to kind of scope it out a little bit, assess how the hips are feeling. My right side is so much tighter than my left, so it's just a great way to assess if one side is feeling a little bit more tight. We'll start to roll back up. Let's straighten our legs out, wiggle them out a little bit. We're going to move into a little bit of core work here. So I'm going to turn this way so that I'm not facing the sun. I still have a blanket that I'm sitting on, so always feel free to sit on a blanket. And so we're going to go into a boat. So our legs are straight out. We're going to bend the knees and try to pull the knees together. If you're looking for something a little bit more challenging today, you can always invite a block in and try to squeeze the block in between the knees. And that's really going to incite the inner thigh meridians, which will help with, of course, all kinds of digestion and things like that, but also going to really help us to engage the core. So it intensifies the pose. So this is step one, just feet on the ground, knees bent, knees kind of pulled together. We don't want our knees to flop out here. And then we'll just try to lift our hands up. So those of you who are just beginning your practice, this is a good place to start with your feet on the floor. If you're a little further along in your practice and you want to challenge yourself just a little bit more, try to lift your feet off the ground, just an inch or two. And that's where we'll stay in stillness for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Beautiful job. Bring your feet together, knees apart, and round over into your Baddha Konasana. Take a couple of breaths. Really nice oppositional pose here. We're going to be practicing this 2 more times for 3 total. Of course, each time I'll be offering different kinds of variations. So anytime, you just come back to step 1, beginner pose. So let's come back to that. Here's our beginner pose. Here's step 2, lifting the feet. Of course, it can become harder as you lift the feet a little bit higher. So where your feet go is up to you. I'm going to keep mine kind of soft and bent. All right, so from here, let's count. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. I'm going to lift my hands up and down for 4, up and down for 3, up and down for 2, last 1, drop them down, Baddha Konasana. Woo, it's getting pretty toasty. Remember, if a third round sounds really daunting to you, don't feel like you need to join me. You can just stay right here in your stretch. My idea of yoga is that we need to be creating balance in the body at all times. There's a lot of Buddhist psychology and Ayurvedic medicine that goes along with that. So we want to make sure that we're gaining both flexibility and strength. So I'm going to set up for my 3rd round. And this time I'm going to lift hands and drop them for all 10, but you just feel free to stay right here. So I'm going to lift my feet and lift my hands, drop them down 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Great job, everyone. We'll round over last time for that cobbler, that Baddha Konasana. Give ourselves that break. Again, it's okay to have a straight back. It's okay to have a rounded back. That choice is yours. And let's roll up to seated. Alright, so we're going to do very minimal work on the knees today. So let's swing those legs around. If you're in need of a sip of water, feel free to do that. I'm gonna do that. But I'm cheating. I'm gonna drink some coffee and not water. Okay, so let's come to tabletop pose. Make sure if you do have anything going on with your knees that they are supported with a blanket or pillows. Palms grounded. The same thing goes for the wrists. So if your wrists are hurting today, maybe you bring a blanket underneath the heel of your hand. Maybe you have some extra blocks around that you can grab onto. I've also heard dumbbells are really good. Holding on to dumbbells. So whatever you would like here. Got to make our tabletop. So we got to have 4 legs. 4 legs to the table. They're all balanced equally. Let's sway the back through to the belly and look forward. Draw those shoulders down away from your ears. That's known as cow pose. And then we'll round our back up to the sky, looking back at our thighs. That's cat pose. Inhale, heart reaches forward, cow. Exhale, round the back, cat. Couple more. Keep breathing with your movements. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. And come back to center. So that's our hands and knees work today. I don't want to spend too much time on the knees. We're going to tuck our toes and start to roll up to that downward facing dog. Pedal it out a couple times. Stretch your heels, stretch your calves. Again, I don't want to spend too much time here with the weight on the hands. So let's start to tippy toe our feet forward and walk the hands back towards the feet so that we're standing in a forward fold, just standing. Dangling is what it's called in yin yoga. So we want our knees soft as always. We don't want them hyperextended back. We want our chin dropping towards our chest so that the neck is lengthening. Hands just dangling. My feet are really active though, so they're really holding me down to the ground. And from here, I'm going to pretend to sit in a chair and then start to lift my hands out and up to the sky. And then we'll start to lengthen all the way to standing, all the way up. Hands come down to the heart center. And we'll take a couple standing breaths here. Just feel what it feels like to stand in stillness for a couple moments. Wherever you are in your house, in your yard, on your deck, your sunroom, wherever it is that you are, your living room. Noticing the freedom that you have right here in your space. So we're going to do a freedom type breath. And so what we're going to do, let's see, I'm not sure if you can see my head, but that's okay. All you need to see is my body. So we're going to take an inhale and sweep your hands up overhead. And as you exhale, bend your knees, squat into chair. Swing your hands down to your feet, maybe slightly back behind you. So that's exhale. As you inhale again, sweep your hands all the way up. Press into your feet, lengthen up. Exhale, slow and fold over your legs. Inhale, sweep your hands up. Exhale, fold over your legs. Hands sweep back a little bit. One more time like that. If you'd like to, after this, you can do a couple rounds fast. It'll be inhaling up. Exhaling fast, inhaling up, exhale, inhale up, Exhale. Last time. Of course, you can keep going if that feels good. Let's bring our hands to the heart. It brings a lot of freedom into our body, a lot of energy. We're going to go into our balance series here next. Walk your feet out. March in place. And we're going to focus on balance here for just a moment. So let's do right foot first. Imagine that the roots are growing out of your feet. And we're going to start to roll up to our left toe. Turn your left knee out. And so now you're in a low Vrikshasana or tree position. Maybe your hands come to your heart, maybe they stay out to the side. If you feel good in your balance today, you can wrap that foot around your ankle or your calf muscle. Still feeling good, like you could go a little higher, you can bring that left foot into your right inner thigh. I'll always warn against going into the inner knee, but of course, you're welcome to do what feels good and natural to you. And I know our balance can be off here, so if you'd like, you can grab onto some things around you. Maybe make sure that you have a chair handy, a wall next to you. And let's breathe wherever you are. Try your best not to get frustrated. Don't let the mind become agitated. Even if you're falling out of balance, even if the wind is pushing you around. It's okay to fall over once in a while. Let's give ourselves a break from that pose. Let your feet stomp it out, march in place, let your hands swing by your sides. Let's make it even doing that tree pose on the other side. So we're going to ground into our left foot. Imagine roots growing out of the sole of the foot. Bend your right knee so that you roll up to your right toes. Turn your knee out and bring your heel right above your ankle. That's a low Vrikshasana. You could bring your hands to your heart or by your side. If you'd like to challenge yourself a bit further, wrap that right foot around your left calf or ankle. If you'd like to still challenge yourself, you can bring that foot into the inner thigh. Again, remembering to try your best not to let your mind get agitated. Try not to get frustrated if the balance is not working for you today. It's all part of freedom. If we hold on to that experience of frustration, even in a yoga pose, we're creating suffering for ourselves. So if we just let it go, we're free. So let's let that pose go and walk it out. More in the balance series, we're going for warrior 3 into a high lunge. So I'm going to turn to the side here, just so you can see what I'm doing. Again, I'm going to keep my right foot grounded into the ground. Okay, so right foot grounded. Left foot is going to slide back. You can keep your left toes grounded onto the mat. I soften the front knee too, so I'm already in a lunge kind of. We're going to try to lift that back foot a couple times. Maybe you can keep it lifted. Maybe your knee has to bend. That's okay too if you're just beginning. If you're a bit further in your practice, you might start to try to tilt. Ooh, my balance is a little off today. Alright, and from here we're going to step that left foot as far back as you can. Your heel could be lifted, or your heel could be grounded. The choice is yours. If you're leaning forward, try to move it so that your torso is straight up or leaning back slightly. And from this space, you're welcome to add the arms. It could be, again, hands to the heart. It could be hands out to the side. Maybe you have a chair close by that you can grab onto for balance. Maybe your hands come up into like a tree, reaching up like branches, or palms together, up overhead. If you need less stretch, lean forward. If you want more stretch, lean back. Keep breathing, nice and deep. Great job. Bring the hands back out to the side. Bring your hands back to your right knee. And we're going to try to step our left foot forward. I can feel lots of heat in my right hip as lots of strength was being built there. So let's try that on the other side. So we're going for posture here. So we're going to go for warrior 3. Keep your left foot grounded in front and slide your right foot back onto the ball of the foot or the toes. If you'd like to go higher, you can start to lift your foot. It's okay if your knee bends, but eventually we want it to stay lengthened so that when we come into the full posture, the back foot is in alignment with the head. We're making like a straight line. I don't even know how my posture might look here. But from here, we're balancing on that left foot. It's hard. Lost my balance a couple times here. Let's soften, coming back up to standing. Bend your standing left knee and step your right foot back to high lunge. It could be that your right heel grounds and your toes are angled at a 45. It could also be that your right heel is lifted. Your choice. Which one is better for you? And if you want to, you can add the arms. Maybe the hands come to the heart. Maybe they reach out to the sides for a chair or a wall so they can help you balance. Maybe the arms reach up like branches. Or the palms come together up over the head. Less stretch, lean forward. More stretch, lean back. So when you go into less stretch, you're going to be building strength. So if you come forward, you're automatically going to feel that hamstring shift into activation, and it's going to build muscle. It's going to get stronger. If you arc back, you're going to be getting stretch in the right hip flexor. The right, yes. And whenever you're ready, bring those arms out to the side and step it forward. Not always as easy as it sounds. Walk it out. Here's our sun salutation, hands to the heart center, walking up to the top of your yoga mat. Let those shoulders drop back, crown to the sky, feet, heels grounded, toes might be lifted. Pull that core in, tuck through the ribs. Inhale here. As you exhale, bring your hands down to the sides of your body. Inhale, hands reach up overhead. Exhale, soften your knees like you're going to sit in a chair. Roll your belly onto your thighs, reaching your hands to the ground. Or if you've got that block handy, maybe you can reach for the block. Alright, this is our famous hamstring stretch. So with an inhale, lengthen just one leg. Shift that knee back, shift that hip back. And that will stretch that hamstring. Got lots of bees in our backyard here, so I'm kind of shooing them away as we go. Now let's just switch sides. So switch knees. Bend the one that was just straight. Straighten the opposite. Shifting that knee back, that hip back. And we'll breathe, feeling that hamstring. Let's shift sides. So just switching knees. With an inhale, switch knees. Exhale to stretch. Inhale, switch knees. Last time. Last inhale. Exhale to stretch. Soften both knees like you're sitting in that chair. Move your block here a little bit forward so your fingertips can meet your mat. Step one foot back into the high lunge. Step the other foot back into the downward dog. Pedal out those heels. So we're just straightening one leg and bending the other just like we were doing standing in the forward fold. We're going to be working with our core. So remember that that boat pose that we did where we were balancing on our tailbone. We're doing the opposite pose. So pretend like your tailbone is grounded on the sky. And now what we're going to do is roll flat. So come forward over top of your hands like you're going to do a plank, a push-up, and then lift the hips back up again. And then roll forward up onto your tippy toes, flattening. I know that's a lot on the wrist, so if that's enough, drop to your knees. So next we're dropping to the knees, or a traditional chaturanga. So when you're on your knees, we want our elbows to kind of slice the sides of our ribs as we come down to the floor. Look forward. Squeeze those elbows back. And roll your heart up. See if you can take 3 breaths in stillness, in Sphinx, in Cobra, in Up Dog, whatever you choose. Last inhale. As you exhale, lower down so that your forehead meets the floor, the block, a blanket. Tuck your toes and start to press back up to hands and knees. Keeping the toes tucked, roll up onto the balls of the feet. I then walk my feet a couple inches forward and start to pedal it out. Look from your toes to your hands and start tippy-toeing forward towards your hands. Eventually you might come to a spot where you need to walk your hands back to your feet. Somewhere where you can come into a forward fold. Let's lift halfway and flatten our back and draw those shoulders down away from the ears. Stretch your head to the left and stretch your head to the right so that you're drawing each ear to its shoulder to stretch the neck in this position. From here, soften your knees, roll over your legs, and try to just let your upper body hang out. And again, just kind of soaking into this stillness in this forward fold. What does it feel like? Is it uncomfortable? Does it make your mind frustrated at all? Let's soften through the knees like you're sitting even deeper. Swing those arms out and let them carry you all the way up, just like that breath of life. Drop the hands down to the sides, maybe to heart center. Couple breaths. Let's do that breath one more time. So drop your hands to your sides. With an inhale, sweep your hands up overhead. With the exhale, soften your knees into a squat. Drop your belly onto your thighs. Swing your hands by your feet back behind you a little bit. And with an inhale, let them carry you back to standing. Exhale, let yourself fold over your legs and swing your arms back. Inhale, swing them back up, standing. Try it again. So if you like the slow moving breath of life, you can do that. If you like the fast moving one, you can do that. Last one. Bring yourself up, hands through heart center, slowly like they're coming through thick air, down to the sides of your body. Inhale, up overhead. Sun salutation. Exhaling, forward fold. Soften your knees and fold into that forward fold where you're reaching for your feet. Remember, your legs don't need to go straight. With an inhale, we'll lift halfway. Shoulders down. Crown reaching forward. Core, belly button being pulled into the spine. One more breath here. Exhale, soften through your knees. Let your head come down, reaching your hands forward. We'll step those feet back for downward facing dog. It's just your traditional sun salute here. Roll up to your tippy toes. Bring your weight over your palms like you're going to do that push-up. We'll do that push-up, that chaturanga, lowering yourself down however it is that you make it to the floor. Inhale can be Sphinx, just lifting the head. It can be a cobra. It can be an up dog. So whichever you choose, whatever you're ready for here. Lowering back down through cobra if you choose, back down through Sphinx. Tuck your toes and start to roll back up, hands and knees, downward dog, making any adjustments. Lift your right leg up to the sky. Bend your knee, stretch that quad, lengthen it back up, and switch sides. Other leg lifts to the sky, bend through the knee, open through that hip, really stretching the quad. Lengthen the leg back up and we'll drop it down. Looking towards your hands, walk, step, crawl, bring your hands back to your feet, however you need to get to a forward fold. We'll inhale to lift halfway. And exhale to forward fold, just hanging over the legs. So if you need to, separate them wider. Soften your knees deeper. Let your head go, shake it no, and shake it yes. Swing your hands back behind you, up towards the sky if it's able for you. And then we'll swing the hands down by the feet and let them carry you all the way up to standing. Hands slowly come to heart center. Standing in Samastiti, where you're just grounded through the soles of the feet. Shoulders back. Neck long, crown lifted. Starting to find some stillness so that you can tune in to how you have shifted within your body in just this short amount of time. We're going to do one more variated sun salutation. So hands at heart center here. Inhale. As you exhale, soften into your knees like you're going to sit in a chair. Bring your hands away from your chest so that it's elbow to elbow, one straight line. We're going to add a twist into our chair. So you want to bring your right elbow to the outside of your left knee. You don't want your knees to shift. You want this to come from the heart, from the chest. So press into that. It's really your left outer thigh or your left knee with your right elbow. One more breath here, and let's switch sides. So come back to center, and then kind of swing your elbows onto the outside of your right thigh. So left elbow, right thigh. Soften your knees, really squat down there. And then create some tension by really elbowing, pressing your elbow into your knee, opening your chest. And releasing it back down. We're not gonna come up, we're gonna lift halfway. So sweep your hands out, up overhead, lengthening like you're gonna dive off of a diving board. Exhale, folding back downward. Walk your hands to the top of your mat. Walk your feet to the back of the mat, downward dog. Roll forward to your plank position. Push-up pose. Lower down, however it is that you do that. I drop to knees typically, untuck my toes, and then lower myself onto my belly. Squeeze the elbows into your ribs. Press into your palms, looking forward. Maybe a cobra, maybe an up dog. Lowering back down. Tuck those toes, pressing up, making your way to your downward dog. However it is you get there, any adjustments are welcome. Reach your right leg up to the sky. Bend your knee, open your chest and your hip a little bit, and then lengthen it back up and drop it down. Try it on the other side. Lifting left leg up, bending the knee, opening the hip, the chest. Only for a moment, lengthening back up, lowering down. Bend your knees, wag your hips to the right, to the left, to the right, to the left. Look at your hands and start to tippy-toe forward. Walk your hands back to your feet. Lengthen halfway. So we're not going to prop ourselves up. We're going to sweep our hands out by our ears. Our arms are straight forward, lifting halfway. Folding back into that forward fold. Again, we're going to sweep our arms back behind us. Maybe up to the sky if it's available. Sweep your hands down and slowly let them carry you up to standing. Hands come to heart center. 3 breaths. Standing. Grounding. Begin to make your way down to the floor. You can do that through a downward dog if you'd like, just folding forward, softening the knees, stepping the feet back, releasing to your hands and knees, and then starting to walk them to one side of the mat so that you can switch over onto your back. So as you come onto your back, of course, any blankets or pillows are welcome here. Start by pulling your knees to your chest. Softening and flattening your back into the floor, into the ground. Rocking a little bit from right to left. Maintaining that rocking as you pull the knees apart. Toes might still be touching, but the knees are separated. Still rocking over the sacrum, over each side of the spine. And here we'll take it longer, a little bit further into the pose. So I want you to, right now, my right hand is reaching towards the screen or towards the camera. And I'm going to bring my left hand to the outside of my right knee and pull my knees, both of them, to the left. So we want our right arm to be outstretched and grounded, teed out to the side. As our left hand is pulling our legs towards the left, we're twisting in the back. Take a couple breaths. And we'll switch sides, bringing our legs back up to center, hugging onto them. Teeing your left arm out to the side. Right hand hooks onto the outside of your left thigh or knee and allows the knees to come over to the right. So you're trying to keep your left shoulder grounded as your knees are falling to the right. If you need more rounds of that, please feel free to do a couple more rounds of that twist. When you're ready to just lay on the ground, bring your feet flat, knees bent, arms by your sides. Give yourself a quick bridge pose by pressing into the feet, lifting the glutes and the low back, allowing that low back to release before you lay it back down onto the ground. Feel free to invite a bolster or pillows in underneath your legs. If it doesn't feel right to lay flat, then feel free to keep your knees bent with your feet flat with your knees bent like I am. And if you need to make any other adjustments in your body before laying still for a couple minutes, then make those adjustments here. And start to settle into your Shavasana pose. depending on where you are, there are different sounds that you might hear. So what does stillness sound like? What does it sound like in your mind when you turn off the constant stream of thoughts? What does stillness sound like? And what does stillness feel like? Is it uncomfortable or unfamiliar? Or rather rejuvenating or calming? What does stillness feel like? What would happen if you brought your focus to this moment, this breath coming in, and this breath moving out? What is this when you hear stillness and feel stillness, and when you're only in this moment? It is peace. Begin to bring awareness to your body by just wiggling your fingers and rolling your wrists inward and outward. Begin to stretch your legs out long and start to flex and point your toes. And we'll stretch our arms up overhead for one last full body stretch, lengthening from fingers to toes. Rest for just a moment. And begin to make your way to one side, whichever side feels more natural to you, supporting your head with your upper arm. You're welcome to stay as you are, or when you would like to come back to seated, if you would like to come back to seated, you can start to press yourself back up. Again, only if you would like. If your body's telling you to rest or stay laying on your back, that's what you should do. I hope that there's a bit more freedom in your body now that you've stretched. A little bit more freedom in your breath now that you've moved it in and out. Less frustration in the mind. And this is in yoga and Sanskrit what we call moksha, which means freedom, peace. I bring my hands to my heart to honor each of you practicing here today. I bow to the being within each one of us, The same beam that is in you is in me, and it is the same beam that pervades this entire universe. And that is why we say Namaste. Om Shanti. Peace, peace. Thank you so much for being here today. Namaste.
Thank you, Leah.
Thank you.
Thank you.